Hello, everyone. So the Marine Corps just court-martialed a Marine gunner by the name of Stephen LaRose, and I happen to know. And the Marine gunners are essentially chief warrant officers that are supposed to be weapons experts in the Marine Corps, and they're assigned to infantry battalions and special projects or special tasks. So in the case of Gunner LaRose, he was assigned to Quantico, Virginia, where he was working on a task force that was stood up by General Mattis. Nonetheless, so this all happened during the time of COVID, and evidently somebody made an IG complaint that he wasn't coming to work, he's working from home, blah, 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 blah. And so the gunner was in the process of retiring, and this IG complaint falls upon him, and the command, instead of calling him in and administratively handling this matter, all of a sudden recommends a special court martial. And for most of you that don't know, when you get caught up in the military judicial system, they throw the book at you. So they basically find 15 different charges on the gunner, and they recommend that he goes up for a court martial. The judge looks at the 15 charges, he drops 10 of them, says not enough evidence, and he keeps 5 of them. Well, the court martial happened, and interesting story in the middle of the court martial, the gunner happened to promote his defense lawyer, who got promoted to captain, and the gunner did the promotion ceremony. I think that's pretty neat. But nonetheless, so during the court martial, witnesses brought in, character witness, and they speak on behalf. And I'm kind of pissed off that I wasn't brought in a character witness, because I would have told them the blunt truth, because I think this is horse shit, quite frankly. So anyway, they had Major General Gerganis, somebody I knew. He was a neighbor of mine at one time, good infantry officer. And then we had Gunner Vigiani, Navy Cross recipient. Now, Vigiani and I served together in an infantry battalion, and he was phenomenal. In fact, based on the recommendations that we wrote up, he received the Navy Cross. And it so happens that LaRose and I also go back in time. He was a young corporal in 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines in Bravo Company, and I happen to be the company commander. Shit hot Marine. He's always squared away. Nonetheless, so I kind of lost track of him. All of a sudden, he pops up. I'm reading about him. He's a Marine gunner. Very proud of him, obviously. And then this incident happens. So, and I contacted him. I said, I hope it goes well for you, and whatnot. And I've also contacted him again, based on the outcome of this court martial. And this is the problem I have with all this stuff, right? Here's a guy that's, served 25, 30 years in the Marine Corps. He's got a couple of Bronze Stars, served in combat, served his nation. So we assign him to this program that nobody's supervising him for a couple of years. Well, shit, you take a racehorse and you don't train him for a couple of years, he's going to turn into a damn mule. And the gunner evidently, started transitioning out of the Marine Corps, worked for a contracting firm, and they nailed him. They found him not guilty of being absent without leave, but they nailed him on, they found him guilty of making a false official statement. And what happened there was, from my understanding of this whole situation, is that he sent out about 5 emails on his government email account on behalf of this contractor, and he forgot to check a box. Typically what happens when you get investigated, these investigators come in and they start asking questions. The smartest thing you can do is keep your mouth shut, because if you say something wrong, you're going to be held accountable for that, making a false official statement. And that's what he got nailed for. And generally the lawyers tell you, don't say anything. Let the investigators do their investigation, and then let the lawyers handle it. And generally what happens in these court martials and these investigations, I've gone through investigation, and they throw the book at you. They throw everything at you, and then, so they've got, a dozen government lawyers all the way from the JAG at the highest level, a 3-star, 2-star. All these JAGs are working against you to convict you, while they assign you one military lawyer, probably a lieutenant, captain, or a junior major, who's handling dozens of cases. So when you go in there and you're like, the whole system comes after you. I'm happy that he was found not guilty. I'm kind of irritated that they got him on making a false official statement. I think that's just horse shit. I think that the commanding general that convened this court-martial is a worm, in my opinion. It should have never happened. We don't eat our own, especially when a guy's served, 25, 30 years in the Marine Corps honorably, is a combat veteran, is recognized in combat for valor. He's actually got Bronze Stars with a Combat V on it. And then we treat him like shit at the end when he's leaving the Marine Corps. This is not how we treat Marines. This is not how we treat anybody. If people are going to screw up, I've screwed up, you're going to screw up, everybody screws up. That's just, part of being a human being. But at the same time, we got to take the totality of the whole person's career. And by all means, I remember LaRose when he was a Lance Corporal. He was shit hot. And the people that are speaking on his behalf, Gerganis and Vigiani, are some of the top Marines that we know of. And we got to stop doing this shit. This is not the culture that we want. We got to recognize people when they make honest mistakes, by God, just deal with it. Give them an ass chewing, give them a letter, counseling, formal counseling, and let's move on. Let them retire with honor and dignity, for God's sakes. So we need to do better. And if you're a general officer out there listening to me in the Marine Corps, listen, pay attention to this, have some empathy. You got to where you got to because people gave a shit about you. And we have to give a shit about other Marines as well. We just don't throw them under the bus to get a conviction at a special court-martial because we don't know how to handle it at our level. Bring them in, look them in the eye and say, listen, stud, you screwed up. You shouldn't have been working from home, or you shouldn't have been working 2-3 jobs, or whatever the hell you're doing. Okay? That's how Marines handle problems. Okay? Now, we don't give them a felony conviction. I wrote to LaRose, and I said, hey, appeal this. And the reason being he needs to appeal it is if this investigation hadn't happened, he wouldn't have made a false statement. So it's an entrapment almost. But nonetheless, that's for lawyers to handle. I'm not a lawyer, don't claim to be. I'm just an infantry guy that's just a little pissed off about this whole thing. We do not eat our Marines. That's the bottom line. That's all I got. Stay rugged. Khan out.